wasn't, right? Technically, but it was it ended the game in my opinion because then it's all of a sudden now they're going for the lead. They're not going for the tie anymore when they get that ball back. And again, just kind of simplifying things when it comes time. Of course, we got to keep with the plan. We got to keep, in the certain packages, the certain disguises. And obviously, Aaron Rodgers is going to try and take what, he thinks the defense is giving him. But when we don't execute then in that situation and you allow a team to get that kind of momentum, is when we get in trouble. I will say, too, I feel like in the last couple years, 14-point leads seem to evaporate faster. Have you
Hmm.
noticed that at all? Am I making this up?
No, I mean,
Like, I know
I
like the
think
Vikings last year did something similar where they came back like 21 points in the second half. We did it against the 49ers a couple of years ago. I cut you off, but yeah, I just feel like we're seeing this more often.
yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the evolution of the game is offenses can strike so quickly now versus 10, 15, 20 years ago. Especially when you have guys like Aaron Rodgers who can throw the ball 60 yards down the field. No lead is safe, especially if you can't sustain drives and you've got your defense on the field the entire game. But um, you know, you talked a little bit before about taking what the defense gives you, and while I think he's getting better at it, we saw that in one of the most clutch moments of the game where it was third down, the Packers were driving at the end of the game, fourth quarter, less than a minute left. We had that big play to MVS where he got interfered with, and we've got the ball on our own 8-yard line or whatever it is. Aaron Rodgers is going Devontae Adams all day. He doesn't see Robert Tonyan wide open, going into the right corner of the end zone. It's a play that they've run before to Tanyan, and I just don't understand how he doesn't even look that way at all. Like I understand Devontae Adams is the best receiver in the NFL, but Tanyan's pretty dang solid. He caught every pass that went to him on Sunday, and he probably would have caught that one too, and that would have ended the game. Packers win. And again, it's not the reason we lost, but again, it's a missed opportunity where Aaron Rodgers gets too reliant on Devontae, and we miss points, and it happens every week.
Hmm.
And I talk about it every week, and I'm sure people are annoyed, but it's one of those things where
Yeah.
it's like I just really, you know, he's getting better at it, but he really needs to, like what you said, take what the defense gives you. Don't force it to Aaron Jones or Devontae Adams. If you've got Robert Tonyan wide open for 8 yards, don't try to throw it 25 to someone else. You know what I mean? And I don't
But
know.
now I'm going to play devil's advocate because let's move to overtime. We win the toss, and I'm like, okay, so we almost gave this game away, but now we got the ball back first in overtime. At least I feel pretty good about at least getting into field goal position. Again, getting ahead of myself, jinxing us, and I'm the reason why we lost. But to counter that point, I know MVS has had a good game or two now in a row, and kind of like I was ranting about right after the game, that's where you do put Devontae catching that ball. Because if you're trying to set up a wide receiver screen and you're trying to make playmakers be playmakers, I mean, Devontae is the most sure-handed guy, on the team. And that was a quick 1-2 throw. Let's go. And again, to put MVS in that position, I don't think anyone expected him to fumble. But it's overtime. This is a big time game. It's a quick pass. Like there was no question you were going to that receiver no matter what. So it's not the same scenario that you were talking about with Tunyon, but it's you put the ball now in your best playmaker's hand in that scenario, I think, and don't give like you referenced it after the game, the Ty Montgomery type move. Don't give them those guys the opportunity to do something like he ultimately did, which was, of course, fumbled in overtime on our own 30-yard line to essentially give the game away to the Colts.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't really know what to say. I mean, it's a little bit of a different situation, but I agree. I mean, you want the ball in your best player's hand, obviously. Um, but you know, I would rather. I think I would rather Tanyan drop that ball in the end zone than throw it to Devontae, catch it, and get stuffed at the 5 yard line. But
Right.
then we're probably having a different
Yep.
conversation.
Well, no, yeah, and the difference between the overtime scenario and that scenario is there were two options out there. The overtime play where MVS fumbled, there was no other receiver, right? It was going to MVS.
Right.
So my point was just put Devontae in that situation, which can be true, and your comment can still be true with, hey, when you have four receivers out there going for a pass, make sure you consider all four of them, not just Devontae every single time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The distinction
Gotcha.
there. But I think overall, I came to, my opinions have not changed too much since Sunday. I thought maybe I would cool off, which I have cooled off. But unfortunately, I think I came to the realization there really are two different types of teams that win Super Bowls. Either the best team in the league or the second best team in the league, and it's an epic battle to the end, and one of those two teams win. Maybe there's a third team in there some years. Or you get the way the Packers won the last time, 2010, where you got to get the team that's capable of making the plays, is healthy at the right time, and that's hot. And since we won that Super Bowl in 2010, I felt like the Packers had the opportunity, if they weren't the best team in the league, they're for sure, within the conversation of the top five. So they could ultimately, one year or another, be that dominating team that would be hands down favorites to win the Super Bowl. I think this game has made it clear that we are not that elite team, and that it's going to have to be a football game if we're going to each and every week if we're going to want to win a Super Bowl. Now, obviously, even the best teams need things to bounce their way, aka 2011 when we were the best team and we lost straight away to the Giants in the playoffs. My point is I think you and I consider the Packers among the best teams in the league, talent-wise, obviously biased, but also unbiasedly. We're a very, very good team. I think this just proves that we aren't the elite team, right? The Chiefs, a.k.a. last year, the Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes are that type of team where they can beat anyone, any Sunday. And I think for us, unfortunately, I came to the realization that, yes, although we're a very good team, we're still going to need the bounces to come our way even more than an elite team would, and we're going to have to make the right plays at the right time, and it's more of a long shot. Does that make sense when I'm laying down?
Yeah, and I heard this on the post game show, in Milwaukee, and they were talking about they had a caller call in and just say, hey, this Packers team is frustrating because they're built to be good, not great. And his point was that the management and the GM Goody aren't trying to win a Super Bowl. They're just trying to sustain. He said sustain goodness. Being good, going to the playoffs every single year. Not too concerned about how far you get, but just being good every year. And while I don't understand that mentality, I mean, from what I mean is I don't understand if that's true. That mentality would come from our front office. You know what I mean? I don't think that's what they want to do, but that's what's happening. Regardless, we're good every year for the most part, but to your point, we just haven't been able to be one of those best teams. We were hot in 2010, 2011, probably the best team in the league, and stumbled in the playoffs. 2014, really, really good team. Not the best team, and that year we probably could have won the Super Bowl had we not given it to the championship to the Seahawks. But no, I agree with you. We're not to the point where they're championship caliber. I think we're a really good team, and I think we're going to make the playoffs. But...
Not to say you can't, and not to say that means we can't win a Super Bowl this year, but yeah, we're not the championship caliber type team. We're not Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs last year. Nope. We're just not.
Or this year.
Yeah, or this year. Jeez, yeah,
pretty dang good.
So, yeah. I mean, the thing, but that brings me back full circle. So this is the most thought out podcast we clearly had because I'm just going to tie it all together. The thing that gives me the most hope and the most excitement is back to my point before of we still have, and I'm not just going to say we have Aaron Rodgers. Anything is possible. We have Aaron Rodgers, of course, but we still have the type of team, the type of plays, the type of defense that can keep us in these type of games. I mean, this was a team that a lot of, it was when we recorded Packers were favorites, but by the time that the ball, was kicked off, the Colts ended up actually being, the favorites in the game. So that play to MVS, right? That game-winning drive is in us, right? We're not the Vikings where they're going to win a certain amount of games and just get bounced right away in the playoffs. We're a capable team to win any game, to make any play. We have the quarterback, obviously, which is the most important thing. Despite MVS's game-losing fumble, he had a hell of a game, right? I mean, I think it's clear he's a receiver. He's not going to be – I still don't consider him a number 2 receiver. Lazard, is coming back. Obviously, he was on a bit of a pitch count this last week. And then Devontae is Devontae. So if our defense can have a similar type game they had this last week, if our offense can have a similar type game that we had this last week, take away one of those 3 and outs, or to your point, hit Tunyon in the corner instead of Devontae, we win the game. So it's, again, can we get hot at the right time? Can we make the plays at the right time? So far, we haven't proven we're going to, but we're right there, and it's we're a B team, and we just need to be a B+ team to win any given Sunday. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you mentioned earlier in the show that you feel like you jinxed the Packers, and it's your fault that we lost. I'm curious to hear why you feel like that, and then maybe some interesting superstitious tendencies you have.
Good question. I mean, I think it goes, just as far as this year. You can look at my record against being overly confident against the Buccaneers and mocking Tom Brady, and you can see what that did. No, I think I have this. It's not necessarily something I do or something I need to do or a phrase I need to say. It's just this feeling I get. I like being slight favorites or slightly optimistic that we're going to win. It's those games, and I think it's any team. When you go in overconfident, and obviously as a player, this actually matters to you and me sitting on our couch. It doesn't matter. But if you go in overly confident, it's just like without a doubt, those are the games you're going to lose, right? Chargers last year, we were overly confident. Vikings this year, overly confident. Bucks for me, I was overly confident. So yeah, I just, from a mentality standpoint, at the halftime, I said, "Oh, we're gonna win." I kind of made it a definitive sentence in my brain, and of course that's what turned it around. Mm-hmm. In terms of things I do, I gotta wear either my Packer sweatshirt or Brett Favre jersey, because Brett Favre is always and forever going to be my favorite player. And then I got to wear my one of my 2 Packer hats, which is just a classic old Packers hat from the late 90s, or I got the old Super Bowl from Brett Favre era down in New Orleans hat, the Mardi Gras one,
purple one.
So yeah, no, there's nothing I specifically do. I know you do a little something on third down. What do you do to keep the good juju on our side?
Yeah, this is the one that my wife thinks is funny, but I usually stand on third down when we're on defense. Like you would do at the stadium. You get up and cheer on third down and try to get the opposing team's offense out of rhythm and make it difficult for them to hear. So yeah, I've done that for a long time. I don't remember when I started doing it. I think I just maybe did it, subconsciously, did it, and then it just is one of those things I try to do every game, and yeah, it's kind of a tick or a superstitious type of thing I do, I guess.
Well, I think it's good because I don't have the standing thing, but I do have I need to lean forward on third down. You know what I mean? Like I feel like if you're just leaning back or talking or having another conversation and not watching, then if you don't care, they won't care type thing. So I hear you. I think the standing up is probably a good way to burn off a couple of those spotted cows that you brought in from Wisconsin. So that's probably, maybe let's do this. All of the faithful listeners, this next week against the Bears, which is going to be Sunday night. So it's going to be a nice long Thanksgiving weekend. We got the Bears coming up. I think we should all try